the day I returned from my studies abroad. My boyfriend said he had something important to do and couldn't pick me up. He told me to just take a taxi home, but I could clearly hear a delicate female voice on the other end of the line shouting, "Xavier, happy birthday." I thought, it's time to get a new boyfriend. I had specifically chosen Xavier's birthday to return to the country. I thought he would be pleasantly surprised. However, the Xavier on the phone sounded annoyed and a little guilty. "Why didn't you tell me beforehand? I'm busy. Just take a taxi back." I was stunned. When I was abroad, Xavier called me every day, urging me to come back. He even kept reminding me that his birthday was coming up. For the past month, I had cut back on sleep, handled all my affairs, and finally managed to return on his birthday. But it seemed he no longer needed his girlfriend's company. Just then, I heard a delicate female voice from his end of the line. "Xavier, happy birthday." Xavier immediately hung up, flustered. "I've got something to do. Gotta go." My heart sank. Xavier was notoriously stubborn and abrasive. Apart from a few friends he acknowledged, he never let other men or women get close to him. The only person who could ever make him gentle was me. I had loved that special treatment, but the female voice on the phone was a stranger's. My face hardened. I called him again. The phone rang a few times before he declined the call. My frustration grew. I didn't give up. I bombarded him with calls and messages on every platform. After half an hour, just as my anger was reaching its peak, a familiar sports car screeched to a halt in front of me. I angrily swung open the car door, only to find a girl already sitting in the passenger seat. Perhaps due to the high speed drifting, the girl's face was a little pale, making her look all the more pitiful. I narrowed my eyes at Xavier in the driver's seat. "Who is this?" The girl gave me a timid smile. "Miss Amelia." "Hello. My name is Tanya." I didn't even glance at her, keeping my eyes fixed on the seemingly calm Xavier. What is the meaning of this? When Xavier felt guilty, his voice got louder. What could it mean? "My friends were helping me celebrate my birthday, but then you came back and kept calling. So I rushed over to pick you up." A sharp pain stabbed at my heart. "So, I interrupted you." "That's not what I meant," Xavier said, running a hand through his hair. He turned to Tanya. "Tanya, could you sit in the back?" Tanya looked shocked that he would say that. She gave him a crestfallen look and then dejectedly moved to the back seat. I stood with my arms crossed, looking at Xavier, not getting in. Put my suitcase in the car, and wiped down the passenger seat with a wet wipe. In the past, Xavier would have thoughtfully taken my bags without me having to ask. But today, he had forgotten. From the back seat, Tanya watched as Xavier actually took out a wet wipe and cleaned the passenger seat, her face growing even paler. Seeing Xavier's somewhat compliant attitude, the anger that had been building since I got off the plane finally subsided a little. But only a little. After getting into the passenger seat, I still felt uncomfortable, so I kept a stony expression and didn't speak. In the oppressive silence, Xavier just drove. Unexpectedly, Tanya spoke up from the back. "Xavier was really happy that you were coming back, Miss Amelia. He was planning to pick you up early, but our classmates wanted to celebrate one last birthday for him before graduation. So he stayed. But as soon as he got your call, he rushed over. So, Miss Amelia, could you please not be angry with him anymore?" I glanced at Tanya's cautious expression in the rearview mirror and sneered internally. "We're all seasoned players here. Who are you trying to fool with this innocent act?" Her words simultaneously showed off her close relationship with Xavier and implied that she was more important in his heart. After all, he had chosen to stay and celebrate with them even though he knew I was returning. The only reason he came to the airport was because I had relentlessly called and forced him to. She was deliberately trying to stir up trouble between us, trying to make me angry. And I had to admit, she had succeeded. I was furious, my chest tight with frustration. I closed my eyes and ignored her. But Xavier, beside me, was not pleased. "Hey, didn't you always tell me to be more polite? Tanya is talking to you. Why are you ignoring her? Are you still mad at me?" Didn't Tanya already explain everything? If he wasn't driving, I would have kicked him. I opened my eyes and stared at him. "Don't you have a mouth? Can't you explain things yourself? Or is that mouth of yours only good for lying to me?" Before Xavier could speak, Tanya jumped in again. "Miss Amelia, Xavier just isn't very good with words. He's just awkward like that." Please don't be too hard on him. TCH. She really knew how to make her presence felt. Miss Tanya. Is it? I think a well-mannered person shouldn't interrupt conversations. Nor should they meddle in other people's relationships. Don't you agree? Tanya looked at Xavier awkwardly. I didn't mean. I cut her off. From now on, please remain silent. Miss Tanya. Xavier shot me a disapproving look. Amelia. You. I rubbed my temples. My head was starting to ache. You shut up too. Xavier dropped Tanya off at her school first, then drove me back to my apartment. He carried my suitcase, trying to follow me inside. I turned and pressed a finger to his chest. I don't want to see you again today. Put the suitcase down. And as for you, get lost. Xavier tried to play cute. But it's my birthday. Can't my darling girlfriend give me a hug? I think someone didn't want a hug, did they? If I hadn't called you over and over, who knows who you'd be hugging tonight? Ignoring my struggles, Xavier pulled me into a tight embrace. Feel better now. It was my fault today. All my classmates were there. I was just too embarrassed to say no. But I came for you in the end. Doesn't that make up for it, baby? Xavier's lips moved closer, but my heart grew colder. The great Xavier, who never cared what anyone thought, was suddenly too embarrassed to say no. The person he couldn't refuse was Tanya, wasn't it? At my welcome home party the next day, I saw Tanya again. She wore a dress that was clearly ill-fitting, standing awkwardly in a corner of the ballroom. No one approached her. Everyone at the party was a close friend of mine. Tanya was obviously not on my guest list. I looked at Xavier, who was coming down the stairs, and gestured toward Tanya. Did you invite her? Xavier clearly saw the helpless-looking Tanya. He walked over to me quickly and nodded. Tanya said she's never been to a party like this and wanted to see what it was like. So I gave her an invitation. Then, without waiting for my response, he rushed over to her. What are you wearing? You're embarrassing me. I'll take you upstairs to change. Tanya's face flushed red. She seemed to clutch her dress self-consciously, but her expression was defiant. My mother stayed up all night to make this for me. How can you mock it? Apologize right now. I couldn't help but let out a snort of derision. She was really committed to her persona. Would a mother-made dress really fit so poorly? Only a fool like Xavier would buy it. Xavier, like a kindergarten boy who teases the girl he likes, retorted. With your scrawny figure, you can't even fill out the dress your mother worked so hard on. The two of them began to bicker back and forth. Just then, I felt a warmth behind me, and a low, husky male voice spoke in my ear. Enjoying the soap opera starring your own boyfriend. I turned around. Kane's face was very close to mine, his warm breath on my cheek. My expression remained unchanged. It's a bit cliché. At that moment, Xavier noticed how close Kane and I were. He ran over anxiously. Tanya, who had been in the middle of their argument, momentarily forgotten. What are you two talking about? Xavier asked. As Xavier approached, Kane had already taken a step back, but he didn't answer, just looked at me. Xavier stood before me, his dark eyes reflecting my own cool expression. We were just talking about how boring Cinderella-style soap operas are. They're like chewed up gum, tasteless and disgusting. Xavier ignored my answer, his gaze wary as he looked at Kane. Then he put his arm around my waist. Amelia, let's take Tanya upstairs to find a new dress. Tanya, who had only been feigning anger with Xavier before, now looked genuinely mortified. Her eyes reddened. If you think I'm embarrassing you, then I'll just leave. With that, she turned to go. The hand on my waist loosened. Xavier reached out and grabbed Tanya's arm. When did I say you were embarrassing me? You look much better than all the pretentious women here. Before Xavier could say more, I cut him off, my voice cold. The women here are my friends. Xavier, watch your words. And my welcome home party is not a stage for you and Miss Tanya to act out your soap opera. Xavier awkwardly let go of Tanya's arm. Amelia, that's not what I meant. I don't care what you meant. The fact is, you insulted them. Now, apologize to my friends. Besides my friends and Xavier's, there were also some business partners of our families present. Xavier's comment had offended quite a few people. Xavier and I had known each other since childhood. He had always been tactless and self-centered, but for some reason, he had always listened to me. Whenever he did something wrong, I would often make him correct it. So, at my words, Xavier stood up straight, ready to apologize. I'm sore. Before he could finish, Tanya rushed forward, standing in front of him like a noble martyr. This is all my fault, Miss Amelia. If you're going to blame someone, blame me. Xavier is a very proud person. Please don't make things so difficult for him. I raised an eyebrow. Proud Xavier. Am I making things difficult for you? Hearing me use that nickname, some people in the crowd couldn't help but chuckle. Xavier's face instantly darkened. He pulled Tanya back. I misspoke. I apologize. Tanya looked around the room, tears streaming down her face like a faucet. Are you mocking me? Miss Amelia. I know I'm poor, not as noble as you all, but for you to gang up on me like this, your souls are even poorer than my appearance. This high and mighty act of yours is just built on your parents' money. One day, I will surpass all of you with my own abilities. Clap, clap, clap. I started applauding. Well said, Miss Tanya. Martin Luther King Jr. should have invited you to give a speech on dreams. I'm just curious. What does a person with such a noble soul think about being the other woman and pursuing someone else's boyfriend? Tanya's face turned beet red, clearly not expecting me to be so blunt. I'm not. Xavier and I are just good friends. You can't insult me like this just because you're rich. We just have a pure friendship. Don't you trust your own boyfriend? Miss Amelia. This Tanya was constantly trying to trap me, to drive a wedge between Xavier and me. Miss Tanya. Poverty isn't an excuse to brazenly covet someone else's boyfriend. There are many ways to climb the social ladder, and marrying a rich man is certainly one of the quickest and easiest, but not my boyfriend. It has nothing to do with trust. I just don't like seeing women with ulterior motives circling what's mine. Understood. Tears streamed down Tanya's face, making her look particularly pitiful. I'm not. I didn't. Enough. Xavier roared. He looked at me with disappointment. You've changed. When you were a child, you were so kind and lovely. You would secretly give money to the old woman who collected recyclables. How can you look down on poor people now? You. Seeing Xavier so easily manipulated by Tanya, I cut him off impatiently. I'm looking down on your Miss Tanya, so stop trying to pin such a big label on me. And since you're so kind-hearted, why didn't you bring all your other classmates to my party to broaden their horizons? Is it because Miss Tanya's tears are particularly moving? My words exposed his true intentions, and a flicker of guilt crossed his face. I didn't. I was in no mood to listen to his excuses. Xavier, I already gave you one chance. You brought her to the airport. Now you're bringing your little mistress to my welcome home party to disgust me. Do you think I'll just forgive you again and again? Hearing this, Xavier panicked. He forcefully removed Tanya's hand from his sleeve and looked at me nervously. I didn't. She's not my mistress. I just brought her because she sounded so pitiful. If you don't like it, I'll have the driver send her home. Tanya looked at Xavier in disbelief. You. Xavier avoided her gaze. I'll have the driver take you home. Tanya wiped away her tears, her expression stubborn. No need. I'll walk. With that, she turned and ran out. I looked at Xavier, who was still standing there, and said playfully, aren't you going to chase her? Xavier clenched his fists. In the end, he just said, Mr. Williams, please drive Tanya home. I sneered. Who are you trying to impress with this act of restraint? Xavier, if you want to chase her, then go. I won't stop you. But remember this. We can part amicably. But if you dare cheat on me, don't expect me to honor our past. Xavier stepped forward, took my hand, and kissed it. Don't worry. I will never betray you. Over the next few days, a steady stream of flowers, jewelry, and handbags arrived at my office. Xavier appeared before me, holding a bouquet. Are you still angry, baby? I rested my chin on my hand, smiling from behind my desk, not answering his question directly. Someone just shared an interesting social media post with me. Want to see it? Seeing that I was finally smiling at him, Xavier eagerly leaned in. But the moment he saw the picture, he froze. I stared at him without blinking, reading the caption aloud, word for word. Got an apology gift from someone today. I'm not going to forgive him that easily. I looked at the accompanying photo and asked Xavier curiously, are these designer bags buy one, get one free? How is it that for every bag you've sent me, Miss Tanya has an identical one? This someone is you, right? I'm not wrong. Am I? I. Cold sweat broke out on Xavier's forehead. I was just trying to apologize. I brought her to the party but didn't take care of her. So I just sent her some gifts. Oh. I dragged out the sound. So that's how it is. Seeing that I didn't press the issue, Xavier looked surprised. That's it. I looked up, puzzled. What? Xavier looked uneasy. You're not mad at me. I, in turn, tried to reassure him. You said it was just an apology, didn't you? The calmer I was, the more anxious he became. I'll never send her gifts again. I really was just trying to apologize. There was nothing else to it. I nodded and smiled. Okay, I get it. Over the next few days, I started sending gifts to Xavier, and I, coincidentally, sent identical gifts to Kane, with the strict instruction that he had to post them on social media. I even wrote the caption for him. Got another thank you gift from someone today. I'm not going to thank someone that easily, though. Kane sent me a sweating emoji. Am I your tool for getting back at your boyfriend? I replied, yes, you're not willing. Kane, I'd be delighted. My queen. After you kick that loser Xavier to the curb, will you consider me? We'll see how you perform. As you command. 3 days later, Xavier stormed into my office. Amelia, what is the meaning of this? You sent me something. And you sent the exact same thing to that bastard Kane. Xavier and Kane, for some reason, had always been at odds, unable to stand each other since they were kids. I looked at Xavier's dark face, feeling quite pleased with myself. Why are you so angry? I was just thanking Kane. There was nothing else to it. Thanking him for what? Xavier roared. I chuckled. For accepting my thank you gift. Of course. I couldn't even be bothered to come up with a real excuse for him. You. Xavier struggled to contain his anger. Are you doing this just to spite me? I told you. I only sent Tanya gifts to apologize. Can you stop being so unreasonable? Because of what you said that day. Tanya's eyes were all swollen from crying. I felt sorry for her. So I wanted to apologize on your behalf. I did it all for you. Don't you remember how you used to apologize to people for me? Hearing this, I only felt a chill in my heart. The times I apologized for Xavier were when his arrogance got the better of him, when he angered the children of business partners, bullied his classmates, or disrespected his teachers. So in his eyes, what I said to Tanya that night was the same as him cursing at people and getting into fights. Thinking back, I wondered what on earth I had ever liked about this hot-tempered idiot. I had patiently taught him how to behave, apologized for him. I must have had some kind of martyr complex. It's a sickness, and it needs to be cured. I remained calm, and I really was just expressing my gratitude. A good boyfriend shouldn't try to control his girlfriend's actions too much. Wouldn't you agree? Boyfriend. The calmer I was, the angrier he got. Fine. You want to play this game? Xavier slammed the door on his way out. Next, Xavier's social media started filling up with pictures of him taking Tanya to luxury boutiques to buy clothes, shoes, and jewelry. There were also pictures of them on a yacht, and on his family's private jet to the Maldives. All our mutual friends started messaging me, asking if we had broken up. My reply to everyone was, wait for my good news. Then, I hired movers to pack up all of Xavier's things from my apartment and villa and had them sent back to his family's home. Xavier, upon receiving the packages, came running to me in a frenzy. Amelia, what is the meaning of this? Tanya, trailing behind him, gave me a triumphant smile. Did she think she had won? Just taking out the trash, I said, smiling sweetly at Xavier. What? Is the meaning not clear enough? Stop fooling around, Amelia, Xavier said, his face pale with panic. I pulled out a wedding invitation and handed it to him. I'm not fooling around. I'm getting married. So I had to clear out all your junk. My future husband wouldn't be very comfortable seeing it. Xavier tore the invitation in my hand to shreds. Stop joking. I'm your boyfriend. I know I've been intentionally ignoring you lately. That was my mistake. But I was just trying to make you angry. To make you stay away from Kane. I didn't do anything with Tanya. You have to believe me. I sighed. But your actions just pushed me closer to Kane. I think he'll be very grateful to you. I gave him a big smile. My wedding with Kane is on the 1st of next month. You're welcome to come. Xavier's fists were clenched, veins bulging. You have to be lying. At that moment, Tanya eagerly stepped forward to defend him. Miss Amelia. Xavier and I really didn't do anything. We're completely innocent. She glanced back at Xavier, her eyes welling with tears, her voice choked with emotion. Please don't misunderstand him. I hope you two can make up. As long as Xavier is happy. I don't mind being used. I couldn't help but laugh. Did you hear that? Xavier. Miss Tanya is deeply in love with you. You shouldn't use her like that. Tanya quickly waved her hands, her face blushing. No, I'm not. My feelings for Xavier. Before she could finish her performance, Xavier, without even looking at her, stared at me. We haven't broken up. You can't marry someone else. I don't agree. I threw my hands up. It doesn't matter if you agree. The marriage contract between my family and Kane's has already been settled. Besides, when a boyfriend takes another woman on a vacation that looks like a honeymoon, shouldn't that be considered an automatic breakup? Or were you expecting me to just sit at home and wait for you to come back to your senses? Xavier's eyes were bloodshot. I told you. I didn't do anything that crossed the line. There's nothing between Tanya and me beyond friendship. You can't do this to me. Taking another woman on vacation, buying her clothes, jewelry, and bags while you have a girlfriend isn't crossing the line. Then what is? You post pictures of your lovey-dovey life all over social media. And everyone I know is asking me if we broke up. You're right. That's not just crossing the line. That's called cheating. Xavier was speechless. I was being childish. I wanted to use that to make you stay away from Kane. But I really didn't do anything else. Can you forgive me one last time? I looked at him with regret. It's too late. Xavier, you've already used up your 2 chances. There are no third chances. Xavier stepped forward, trying to hug me. But Kane, who had just arrived, beat him to it, pulling me behind him. Xavier, have some respect for someone else's fiancé. Your little girlfriend is watching from behind. You know, the sight of Kane sent Xavier's anger soaring. He threw a punch. Kane, you backstabbing bastard. Kane blocked the punch, shielding me. I've been wanting to punch you for a long time. You stole Amelia. And then you didn't even treat her right. You're asking for it. The two of them started fighting. Tanya tried to help Xavier, but he shoved her away. Get lost. Tanya stumbled and fell to the ground. She sat there, looking at me with humiliation. Aren't you going to stop them? They're fighting because of you. I picked up my bag from the table and glanced at the time. I have plans to see a movie with a friend. So, goodbye, everyone. Have fun. That evening, I was lying on the sofa with a face mask on when a video call from Xavier came through. I had forgotten to block him. After blocking all of Xavier's contact methods, the room was finally quiet. Soon, the doorbell rang again. I frowned, getting up to send Xavier away. But the next second, the door opened. Kane walked in, his face bruised. Forgot I had the code. Still rang the doorbell. Miss me, baby. Kane sat on the sofa and wrapped an arm around me. I swatted his hand away in disgust. If I were thinking of anyone, it would be the handsome Kane, not a swollen-faced pig. Kane touched a cut on his lip. You should see the other guy. I beat Xavier up way worse. I got up to get the first aid kit and started tending to his wounds. Of all your body parts, your mouth is the toughest. Xavier's been training in Taekwondo since he was a kid. You think you could seriously injure him? Kane leaned in with a mischievous grin. Want to test if your fiancé's mouth is the toughest part of him? I pressed a cotton swab firmly onto his cut. Kane yelped. Are you trying to murder your husband? I snorted. Whether you're my husband or not is still up in the air. What? Is someone planning on being a runaway bride? Kane leaned in and stole a quick kiss. I cupped his face. Darling, don't forget, I only get married once the dowry is paid. Kane leaned in for another kiss. Don't worry, it'll be paid in full very soon. 2 weeks later, Xavier's company lost several major projects in a row and suffered a heavy blow. I heard his father chewed him out mercilessly. Seeing me smile, Kane stroked my head, feeling better. But the biggest part of the dowry is still on its way. And a little bonus for you. I'll make sure that Tanya can't find a job in the city. You'll never have to see that annoying person again. I rewarded Kane with a kiss, very pleased with this bonus. On our wedding day, Xavier was there. He stood in the section for family and friends, his eyes fixed on me. Under the combined pressure from my family and Kane's, Xavier's company had been struggling. He looked haggard and worn out, The once proud and arrogant young man had suddenly grown up. Kane stepped in front of me, blocking my view. Hey, your groom is over here. I looked up at Kane. I don't love you. I'm only marrying you for the sake of our family's alliance. You don't mind. Kane smiled confidently. Life is long. I'm confident I can make you fall in love with me. Kane had been on high alert, expecting Xavier to do something to ruin the wedding. But he was surprisingly quiet throughout the ceremony. He didn't even leave during the reception toasts. When Kane and I came to his table, Xavier suddenly stood up. I've been thinking a lot lately. You've always taken care of me, always been by my side. I guess I just took it for granted that you would never leave. I got sidetracked on our way to the altar. I was wrong. Amelia. I know it's too late to apologize now, but I still want to say I'm sorry. With that, Xavier downed his glass of wine. The hand on my waist tightened. Kane seemed afraid I would break free and run into Xavier's arms. I smiled and raised my glass. Remember what I said before. There are consequences for betraying me, even with your apology. The Jiang and Kane families won't be stopping so easily. Xavier's grip on his glass tightened. I understand. With that, he turned and left. I patted the hand on my waist. Relax. Kane let out an exaggerated sigh of relief. For a second there, I thought my bride was about to be swept away by the prodigal son's return. I scoffed. There's no prodigal son here. As stubborn as Xavier is, he's still the heir his family carefully groomed. He was just trying to show weakness today, using our past relationship to get us to back off. Kane looked at me with admiration. My wife is so smart. I narrowed my eyes at him. That doesn't sound like a compliment. Kane quickly surrendered. I really do think my wife is brilliant. I will follow all my wife's instructions. I ignored his antics, then continued to pressure his company. Even if his company was a behemoth, I was going to tear a few chunks out of it. But before we could continue, Xavier's father dragged his son over to apologize to me. He also voluntarily ceded several projects to us. Furthermore, he sent Xavier abroad to study for a few years, temporarily removing him from the family business. There are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. With Xavier's family proactively seeking peace, my family and Kane's accepted. Before he left the country, Xavier asked a mutual friend to arrange a final meeting with me. But by then, I was already on my honeymoon in Iceland with my new husband. As for Xavier, who's that?